Okay, let's see, let me get this a little bit better. Okay, I think that's right. Okay, good morning everybody. Welcome to orientation day for Larson Training Centers. This is a big day, right? Why is it a big day, David? Okay, what's another reason having nothing to do with school?
Start a new pathway in life.
Okay, having nothing to do with us.
Right.
What's the big thing having nothing to do with us?
Presidential election.
Yeah, presidential election last night. So that was a very surprising upset.
Yeah, you're right, upset.
Okay. So we'll see what happens in the next 4 years. Okay, but today we're here, and this is orientation. This is live for the whole world, and it is going to be recorded, or it's going to be stored on YouTube. You can go back and watch it, and that's the reason we do it. We tape these. We don't tape them. They're videoed, and they're on YouTube so that you can go back anytime and watch them. So orientation day, we have some rules that we have to follow here. We need to make sure you understand the rules, because certain things, if you do them, it's a program failure, and they can and they have in the last 3 years sent people back to Southern Desert for doing things that they know they're not supposed to do. And along those lines, number one, you do not change your password. Okay, so some of the people have their passwords. The people who came in late at break, I'll give you your password. Come on in. I'll give you your password. Don't share it with anybody, because if anybody else uses it, you're responsible. Don't change it, don't share it. And the reason not to change it is because they do look and see what you've been doing on the computers. So number two is, you can only use the computers for the things that you're supposed to use them for. If we're doing something on YouTube like this, that's okay to use YouTube. But it's not okay to use YouTube for anything else. Not to listen to music, not to watch videos, not to do anything that doesn't have to do with what we do here. And I'll tell you, there is no tolerance from Lieutenant Scally regarding this, because as he says, this took 6 years to be able to have this program where people get to use the internet. When we started this 3 years ago, it wasn't here, it was down in the Learning Village, downtown Fremont and 7th Street, and half of the people were from Casa Grande and half of the people were not. And the people from Casa Grande could not use an internet-enabled computer. Their computer didn't have internet. So when we were doing internet stuff, they had to watch the guy next to them. They couldn't use it at all. There was no internet. So over the 3 years, we've progressed to the point, and Lieutenant Scally helped get the law changed in the state of Nevada so that inmates could use the internet for work or school. So there is no tolerance, because there is the danger that one bad apple spoils the whole bunch. Okay? There's no food in here, and if you're going to have a drink, it has to be in a sealed container. The top has to be sealed. Other people use these, and can you imagine? So Ricardo, how would you feel if you came and sat down right now and there was a bunch of crumbs on your keyboard?
Untidiness is not good.
Not good. Nobody'd want to touch it. So we don't have any food in the classroom, and the only drinks at Larson are in sealed containers. Now, Casa Grande might say you can't bring drinks in here. I don't know. Another thing is, I don't control Casa Grande. Okay, I can't do things, I can't tell them, hey, do this, do that. It doesn't work that way. My control is just who's in the class and who's in it, who's not in it anymore. They assign students. We want everybody to do this. This is an important thing. We want everybody here. We take everybody. But if you can't keep up, or you're disruptive, or you don't do what you're supposed to do, then I can say this person isn't going to make it in here. And then my experience is they'll have a talk with you and say, here's your choice. You're in here now. Like it or don't like it, you're here now. Make the best of it. It's going to go by quickly. Right, Stacy?
Yeah.
Time goes by fast.
Yeah.
8 weeks seems like, this is 4 weeks, but when Stacy was in, it was 8 weeks.
It flew by.
Seems like it's going to take forever, but when you get to like week 6, you say, wow, what happened? We just started yesterday. It's been 6 weeks already. So, I think that's about it for the rules. Just do what you're supposed to do. Don't do what you're not supposed to do. Okay, so, what are we here for? Does anybody have any paper for notes? Stacy, would you mind asking Patrick for some pieces of paper?
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody have a pen? Anybody have an extra?
Prepared for this.
Huh? What?
I didn't come prepared for this morning.
I'm prepared.
Okay.
Paper and pen.
I just gave a cigarette to the other one.
That's okay.
I usually have a lot of pens for occasions like this. You can try it out. It's blue, but I think it's out of ink. And Stacy's going to bring some paper back. Okay. Oh, beautiful. Do you have a pen? Okay. Just going to need one page there, please.
He said he'll get more, but that's a start.
Okay, this is more than enough, because we're going to get even here. Thank you. One more very important thing to do, and that's just like this. Okay, so that will be edited out. Okay, so here's an important thing to write. Here, this is job preparation. This is not school. This is job preparation. It's Larson Training Centers, but we don't teach you, and we don't teach, if we did teach you, it wouldn't be like a school. Okay, this is job preparation. This is a preparation for employment. And today, to get stable and meaningful employment, you have to know certain hard skills. You have to know how to type, you have to know how to use computers, and you have an advantage if you know how to use the cloud. That's what we do. We don't teach, we help you learn. So write down the word autodidactic. Autodidactic. So that means self-learner, self-teacher. You teach yourself. Why? Anybody have an idea why? Because this is at your own pace. Everybody here has different skill levels, different degrees of skills. This is at your own pace. All you're doing is trying to improve every day. That's all you have to do. Just get better than you were the day before. There's no grades, no grades. We're not comparing people to other people. This is you every day trying to learn what you need to learn to get to have stable, meaningful employment. Also, technology is changing so fast. If you get in a mindset of somebody needs to teach me, I don't know how to do that, somebody needs to teach me, you're going to fall behind. But if you have a mindset of I teach myself, I can learn this on my own, I know how to learn things, then as technology changes, you'll be able to keep up and even actually get ahead. Our fundamental purpose for stable and meaningful employment is to answer 2 questions. But before we get to the 2 questions, I want to talk about this concept of stable and meaningful. Because what we do here is we give you skills that you need to obtain stable and meaningful employment. So, Quentin, would you say being a janitor at Walmart is stable?
No,
Why not?
because that's something, I don't think that's something you can actually get
But is it stable?
It's stable.
Okay, stable, right? Walmart's not going to go out of business. If you do your job, you can count on the fact that you're going to have your job tomorrow at Walmart. Is it meaningful? Does anybody, when they're 7 years old, say, when I grow up, I want to be a janitor at Walmart? No. So we don't give you skills for those jobs. If you want that kind of job, you go to Hope for Prisoners. You go to Hope for Prisoners. If that's the kind of job you want, something that's not meaningful, you go there. That's not what we do, and I'm not criticizing them for what they do. It's just the difference. And we have a campus over there that some of you, everybody has the opportunity to go to. Some of you will choose to go there. Meaningful employment. So is being a artist, a sculptor, is that meaningful?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it stable?
Maybe.
Maybe. Usually when you're dead, right? Or if you put in a long time doing it in the beginning, it's usually not very stable. So we don't teach people to do that either. We don't teach people to do meaningful jobs that are not stable. We teach people to do jobs that are stable and meaningful. Now on the back of your sheet, I want you to put a big cross like that. Every business has 4 fundamental departments. This is how we look at it. Every business has 4 fundamental departments. One is operations. Okay, so if we're a pizza parlor, Al, if we're a pizza parlor, what are the operations in our business?
Making pieces.
Correct, making pizzas. If we're a carpet cleaner, Cardo, what's our business? What's our operations?
Cleaning carpet.
Cleaning carpets. Okay, so operations is what you do. It's the people that make the pizzas, clean the carpets. What did you do before, Quentin?
Warehouse work.
Okay, so for what kind of company? What's one
Prison
company?
Industries.
Prison, okay. So what did they do? Prison Industries. They make stuff for the prisons, right? I don't know, in California or here?
Just for here.
Okay.
All the camps and stuff.
Okay.
Prison and all that stuff.
Okay, so in California, they have prisons that make shoes and other ones that make eyeglasses, and they make the clothing, and they make all kinds of stuff. And the operations for those people are making clothing, or whatever they make. Okay, another part of every business is marketing and sales. They're 2 different things, but they're sort of similar, so we put them in the same group. So if you have a pizza parlor business, what is sales part? Or what's marketing? What would marketing be in your pizza parlor?
I'm not sure.
Okay?
The marketing part of it would be advertising with flyers.
Yeah, advertising, hey, we sell pizzas. Okay? That's not operations. Operations is making the pizzas. Marketing is the guys that say we have pizzas, making people aware we have pizzas. Sales could be a guy out on the street corner handing out coupons that says good for a free slice of pizza or something. Finance is the 4th part, and we don't talk about that. But finance is not accounting. Finance is about money. What is money? Where do we get it? How do we use it? This is more of a snap thing. And then the last part is administration. So when you go get a job, it's going to be in one of these 4 departments. And you should know when you're looking for your job what department you want to work in. Almost nobody that comes in here really gets this. When they start Larson, they don't get it. So when they're going into an interview, they think they're going in for a job. They don't get how that fits in with the whole business. So when they're asked questions like, why should we hire you? They can only say things like, good morning, what is your name? What's your name?
Gillis.
Gillis? Kenneth?
Yep.
Okay. Welcome, Kenneth.
I said anywhere or is it a song?
Not in the back row. So you can sit over on this row. They don't let guys sit next to women either. Or that row. Okay. So when you go in for an interview, if you don't know and you just think you're going for a job and you don't get how it fits in, yep, and
Oh, no, that's
okay, there. And if you don't know, here you go for notes. If you don't know how your job fits into the big picture, you're not going to do as well in the interview as if you did know. Okay, so what is administration in a pizza parlor?
somebody who hires the people for
Okay,
operations.
so HR, human resources is part of it, okay? Administration, these people are the people that enable these people to do what they want. So this guy says, you want me to make pizzas? Well, I need dough, or I need flour. These guys order it. We need to have pizza ovens that work. If it breaks, these guys take care of it. So administration are the people that enable these people to do what they need to do, and they support these people. Okay? So at Larson, we have, here's what we train people for. So we train people, this is under the heading again of stable and meaningful employment. We train people for administrative positions. You want to work in a company and you want to help them make that company run, we train people for that. We train people, we don't train people for operations. We don't teach people how to make pizza. We don't teach them how to clean carpets. We don't teach them operations at all. We train people for marketing and sales. Anybody here not like selling? Everybody likes selling? This is the first. I can't believe it. Everybody likes selling. Do you like selling? Does anybody not? Nobody doesn't like selling? Okay, cool. All right, good. So I don't have to talk a lot about that. Stacy, you don't like selling, right?
No, I do.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we train people for marketing and sales. We train people for accounting positions. And when I say accounting, I don't mean the accountant, I don't mean the chief financial officer, I don't mean the treasurer. I mean like they could be inventory clerks, they can be auditors, they can, they're just part of ordering stuff, making sure we have it. And we train people for customer service. Customer service we put in marketing and sales. A lot of people put customer service over here in administration. Good companies have customer service and sales because if a customer calls up with a complaint and you solve the complaint, now what do you have an opportunity to do?
Well, I was on that.
Sell them something else. GE, that's the whole thing with GE. Solve their problem and tell them we've got something they might like. So it's a sales function. We treat it that way. So these are the 4 areas that we train people to get jobs. These are all stable and meaningful.
Yeah.
We have a campus at the Shade Tree. Anybody know of the Shade Tree? Okay, it's a women's shelter for women and kids. And our job is to teach them how to do this so that they can go out and get employment. Because if you know how to do this, you can get a job anywhere like that tomorrow. And if you're good, you can make $40,000, $50,000 a year without any kind of real education, just because you're good at customer service, which mainly means on the phone. But there's other customer service that's on site. So that's what we do. That's our thing of stable and meaningful. So you say, I'm in administrative department at Hetza Petza company, and you could go to your kid's 2nd grade class, what does your dad do day, and feel good about it, not feel embarrassed. Same thing. So that's what we do. Now, the next thing to write down on your paper for notes is there's 2 questions that we focus on. Question number 1, who am I? Who am I?
Pretty broad question.
Well, it is, but there's this, I don't know, Confucius Chinese saying, if you don't, oh wait,
Okay.
okay. If you don't know where you're going, any path will take you there. So if you don't know who you are, you're not really going to be able to take advantage of opportunities. In law school, they call that being rudderless. So you're out on the ocean, there's a million places you could go, but what if you don't have a rudder?
You can't navigate.
Can't navigate, right. You just go where what?
You go where it takes you.
Where the wind and the current take you, okay? That's what most people are, because they don't really know who they are. The second thing is, why do I behave the way I do? And everybody thinks they know this, but they don't really know it. So again, if you don't know why you behave the way you behave, and you're in front of somebody who knows how to make you behave a certain way, who's in control? Yeah, they're in control. Why? Because you don't know why you do what you do. Now, and I can assure you, I don't think anybody in here, because nobody anywhere else really knew why they do what they do. And when we say, why do you do what we do, we're not saying things like, because of the way I was raised. We're not saying because Jesus told me that. We're not saying because of my religious things. Get to why you really do what you do. Why you really, really do what you do. And the reason we behave the way we do is because certain chemicals get released in our bodies when certain things happen. And when those chemicals get released in our bodies, we behave a certain way. So like what happens when testosterone or adrenaline? Okay, what happens when adrenaline is released in your system?
Get excited, you get pumped up.
Right. Is it easy to meditate? If you have adrenaline streaming through your system, you're in a highly volatile situation, you don't know what's going on. Do you think it's going to affect your behavior? Yeah, it's absolutely going to affect your behavior. And why does adrenaline run through our system at certain times?
Help make fast decisions.
Okay, why? This is where we go to on this. Why do we behave the way we do? Why? So in law school, just a little side note, footnote, in law school, and a thing you should take here, and one of the benefits that you're going to get, is they always try to get you to go to the third why, not the first why. And why do we behave the way we do? And you said what? Why does adrenaline make you do that? And you said
So
what?
you have to make fast decisions.
Okay, why? That was the first why. He said that. What's the second why? Why does it make you make fast decisions?
Because you're under stress.
Okay, well that's kind of like the first part reversed around. Okay, but so why? Why does it release when you're under stress?
Protect yourself.
Or do something that you
Maybe.
to catch up, and sometimes like depending on what type of environment it's in.
Yeah, okay. Because way back when we were, even before we were humans, and you can look at rodents or chimpanzees, they have testosterone release or adrenaline released in their systems too. Why? Fight or flight. Okay? Think back, we're cavemen, we're out on the prairie or somewhere, we're in a cave in Italy or Neanderthal. Well, some of us are Neanderthal. And you hear some bushes rustling, right? You need to make a quick decision. Is that food? Is that a rabbit or something I can catch? Or is it a mountain lion that I got to get away? I need an instant shot of energy because my life could depend on it. I could be starving. It could have been a week since I hadn't eaten protein. I got to have food. Or I'm going to be food if I don't move quickly. So we evolved to have certain chemicals released in our system. And when those chemicals are released, we react. If you understand that, so the next thing to write, it's a long word, phenomenology. We're going to come back to this every week. Because this is part of the fundamental answer to the question of who am I and why do I behave the way I do. So sometimes you might want to have certain drugs like testosterone released in your system. Other times you might want to say, hold on, I feel like testosterone is being released in my system. That's probably not a good thing right now. Because what I need to do right now is I need to be calm. I don't need to react. I need to stay cool, calm, and collected and be able to think through this thing. So, phenomenology. And what we want you to do is to try to picture you have this little alarm inside of you. And when that alarm goes off, that's like, hold on, I need to take a step back. What's going on here? Because all of a sudden, I'm not in control. Things are happening that are going to try to influence my behavior. So phenomenology is, have you ever gone to a movie, scary movie? Anybody not see a scary movie? Really scary movie? Okay. So phenomenology would be, you say, wait a second. Why am I getting scared? This isn't even real. This is just a movie. Why am I getting scared? That's what phenomenology is. You take a step out and you say, why am I feeling this way? So who cried when Old Yeller died? Nobody cried when Old Yeller died? Okay.
You gotta get a newer movie.
Huh?
You gotta get a newer movie. You gotta say the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
He was in the bathroom.
Okay.
He was kidding. Yeah.
So that's a Bill Murray quote from a movie, Stripes. So, but you're right, because only one or two people actually remember that. So phenomenology is the thing of stepping outside and saying, why am I acting this way? It's not even real. Or why is that person getting me upset? Because if he's getting me upset, who's in control? He's in control. Okay? Why do I behave the way I do? Because there's certain chemicals released in our system. Why do I behave the way I do? Because we have these things in our brains called what? Stacy? Neurons. We have things in our brains, cells in our brains called neurons that store our memories and thoughts, etc. They build neural pathways. What do they look like, Stacy?
Tree branches.
So they look like trees. And how many do we have in our brains?
86.
86 billion
Yeah.
of these. And they have about 10,000 connections on each one. And so what happens when you have a thought, little nerve impulses go from, starts here, it goes to this one, to this one, to this one, to this one, and it goes to maybe millions of neurons.
So that's when they show the brain and it's all lit up. And they show the little.
Right. Okay. So it looks like they look like trees. So we study at 9 o'clock every day. We watch a TED Talk, and we start with how does the brain actually work. And the thing is, to create these neural pathways, let's say shooting baskets. So Larry Bird. Anybody remember not know Larry Bird? I'm not doing this check. Make sure it's okay. Okay, so Larry Bird did a commercial for a candy bar. I think it was not Nestle Crunch, but it was like Nestle Crunch. And Michael Jordan was in the stands. And the commercial was Larry Bird is practicing shooting free throws. He's making them. And then Michael Jordan crunches down on this candy bar, and Larry Bird misses. Except the problem was Larry Bird couldn't miss. And it was hard to film the shot because no matter what he did, his neural network connected to the muscles in his arms and everything was on so much of autopilot that he couldn't miss the free throw. And that happens from repetition. So this neural network, every time you do it, you make another copy. Because it connects the nerves in your hands and the muscles that control all that. And it's just over and over and over again. So we do it every morning. Everybody in here does it every morning when you brush your teeth. What are you thinking of when you brush your teeth? What did you think of this morning? What you're going to be doing here?
Yeah, everything else.
I guarantee unless you have a bad tooth, when you're brushing your teeth, you're not saying, okay, here's this tooth, I need to do this with my, you're not thinking about that. You're thinking of something else. Why? Because we've done it every day from the time we're, I don't know what, and we brush our teeth. We know how to do it. We don't need to think about brushing our teeth. Our brain goes on autopilot. How about being in a room with a whole bunch of people and somebody says your name? You're not even listening for your name. Somebody says your name and you hear it? Anybody ever experienced that? Anybody remember the old days in the airports before cell phones when they would say, would so-and-so go to a white courtesy phone? Nobody remembers those days either? Okay. So you could be doing anything you're doing, but if it says, would you, Ricardo, would you please go to the white courtesy phone? No matter what you're doing, you're going to hear it. Because part of your brain is just listening for your name to be called. One of your kids yells out, Dad. It interrupts your thoughts, you hear it, because your brain has this neural network. Now, the thing about this is, why do I behave the way I do? Because we have all of these programmed things in our system. Some are good, some are bad. But if you think, so like when I was in camp, or actually in the institution, before I went to camp, a lot of guys had a bad day. They go back to the cell, they take their Bible, say, Holy Spirit, please help me, boom. And then they would read that, because they believed what?
The Holy Spirit orchestrated.
Yeah. And then they would read it, and they would interpret it to do what? To what they wanted, right? They would interpret it how they wanted it. So everybody would try to figure out, okay, where is David? Where's that part where God said, David is a man after my own heart? Does anybody know where that is?
That's a song, but Kings also.
Okay. And so if you're a not an inmate, if you're a convict, how do you interpret that? David is a man after my own heart.
David was true to God.
No, not if you're a convict. It's okay to be bad, because David was a really bad guy. And God said, David is a man after my own heart. So I'm not really to blame. Okay? So we have these neural connections in our brains, and they don't go away. They're hardwired in. It's like Larry Bird trying to miss a shot. You cannot change these just by saying, I want to change. You can't change your mind, you have to change your brain. And it takes a lot of practice to do it. But it starts with deciding you want to change your brain. And the second thing it does is you cannot have negative talk. You can't say, I can't type. I can't type 35 words a minute. Because what do you think your brain is doing when you say that to your brain? It's saying you're instructing me not to be able to type. You're instructing me to not be able to do that. Okay, we don't have this thing out there that if we have a thought, that thing controls us. If we have a thought, our brain is going to do what we tell it to do. So why do I behave the way I do? I behave the way I do because my brain is constructed that it has all of these neural pathways. Some are good, some are bad. Now, for people who don't like to sell, you know why people don't like to sell?
The negativity that comes with it.
Yeah, because they don't like to be told no. Okay, why don't they like to be told no? Why do you think? Think about this. Going back to this, your neural network in your brain.
And they believe that they can't do it.
Going back to your neural network. Because when you were a little kid and you did something you weren't supposed to do, your mother said what? No. No meant stop. So people who don't like selling when they're adults, they go back, they do these studies with people, and they say, well, blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah, when I was a kid, whenever I did something I wasn't supposed to do, my mother would say no, and that meant stop doing what you're doing. So today, when people say no, in my neural network, no means stop. So it's like driving a car with one foot on the gas. I'm trying to go out and sell. They told me I got to sell these things. I like the product, but everybody keeps telling me stop. You don't say stop. They just keep telling me no. It's too negative. All comes because of that. Now, also, meeting strangers, right? A lot of people who sell, you have to meet people you don't know, right? So what did your mother tell you, James, what did your mother tell you about strangers when you were a kid?
Stranger danger.
Stranger danger. Don't talk to strangers, right? Okay?
Stranger danger.
Now, if your dad was a salesman, though, what did you learn about strangers? If your dad was a salesman for a living, what?
Potential customer.
No, well, sort of, but what they would teach you as a little kid is a stranger is just a friend I haven't met. Think you grow up differently if one is stranger danger and one is this is a friend who I haven't met yet? Do you think that would have a different impact on your neural network if you grew up thinking stranger is a friend I haven't met versus stranger danger?
You'll end up being kidnapped.
You might. Okay? You could. You could. But it turns out that people who don't like selling, they come back and they're almost always taught stranger danger. Don't talk to strangers. So they're going out, they have a job, they have to talk to strangers, but way down in their subconscious is this thing of don't talk to strangers. So you just don't feel good about selling. It has to do with this. So you can't get to be your best self unless you get rid of these bad things. And it's not something that happens overnight. It's hard to break these. You can't throw it out to the universe. Okay? That doesn't work because your brain is hardwired to do certain things. You can have it start with an intention, but then you have to work at it every day. It's like typing. You're not going to get to 35 words a minute typing just by somebody saying, okay, be positive, here's the keys, go do it, and you go into your cell and saying, Holy Spirit, please come into me, teach me how to type. That's not what's going to happen. You're not going to know how to type. You've got to put in the time to do it. But if you don't know that, if you go around carrying this idea, all I have to do is have an intention, and if it's meant to be, anybody ever hear that expression? If it's meant to be, it'll happen. Okay, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. Back in the old days with cavemen, if they wanted rain, what would they do? What did they think rain and lightning was caused by? What caused lightning, rain, floods?
Did they do rain dances?
What caused it? What was the cause of rain?
Spirits and all that stuff.
Yeah, gods. Okay, because they didn't know about weather. They didn't know about science. So they thought if it rains, it's the gods causing it. Now, an interesting thing, if you grew up in Egypt 4,000 years ago, rain was considered what? The gods were what? Happy or mad?
Upset.
Anybody want to guess the other one?
Happy.
Yeah, in Egypt, the gods were happy because they wanted the Nile River to flood, because when it flooded, it would put rich nutrient soil, the nutrients, on the land. So then when they came to growing crops, they could grow crops well. So in Egypt, people would pray for rain, and they would act in a certain way. The priest would say, look, we have to be good people. We have to follow this. You have to do what I tell you to do, because then the gods will make it rain, the Nile will flood, we'll have a good harvest next year, and we won't starve. A few hundred miles north, in Babylon, where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers meet, exact opposite. Because there, if those two rivers flood, devastation, wiped out. The towns, everything wiped out. So their religion was based upon, if we're bad, it's going to rain. Okay, they didn't know. So they would pray, and they would do certain things, hoping that it would affect the weather. Now, what do you think happens if you pray and it rains? Do you think more praying causes more rain? No. We know that rain is not influenced by praying.
They didn't.
They didn't. But I'm saying for us, what do you think happens if those people pray and it rains? What does it increase? Praying. Increases praying. Because they say, aha, see? We prayed and it rained. We need to pray more. Good morning.
Good morning.
Your name is?
Scarborough.
Scarborough, Brian.
Yes.
Okay, check. Have a seat. Yeah, we need you to sign that, get a piece of paper.
You have a minute, can I talk to you?
Yeah. But if it's about being in here, you need to talk to Lieutenant Scally or Mr. Malone,
Okay.
because I do not control that.
Okay.
I only control program failure,
Where,
and you don't want a program failure. Okay, so back to our story. So you can have a belief that God is in control of my life. All I have to do is live according to what God wants. But that's really the same as the caveman thinking, if I pray it's going to rain, or if I pray it's not going to rain. Okay, and I'm not saying don't pray, because rain causes praying back then. And praying was a way that people decided to act civilly to one another instead of law of the jungle. So that was an important thing. Okay, next, and we're going to take a break in about 10 minutes, I think. Okay, so we have started a 4-week journey. This is a 4-week journey, and Stacy will confirm it's going to go like that.
Yeah.
Right, Stacy?
Yeah.
Stacy was in for 8 weeks. At the end of the 4 weeks, you're going to have certain skills. You're going to know how to type, you're going to know how to use the computer, you're going to know how to use 4 Google apps, 4 Google Cloud apps.
All right, so those are just the basics?
That's 4 weeks.
That's the whole story?
That's the 4 weeks. Oh, no, that's not it. And you're going to be doing your employment planning workshop, which we're going to talk about. So at the end of 4 weeks, you're going to have some very important hard skills, and you're going to be in a position where you can go get a better job than the job that you probably would have gotten if you didn't come here. Yeah.
Do you help us get a job, or just help us get the tools to find a job?
This is the tools to find a job, but excellent question. That's where I'm coming to next. Excellent question. So those are the things that you're going to learn in this 4 weeks. This is our 4-week journey. At the end of that 4 weeks, we're going to come to a fork in the road. And at that point, you can decide you're going to go pursue a job, get your job, pay 55% rent, or you're going to stay and get a job. So you're only here 8 hours a day, hopefully, and pay 25% rent. So it's kind of up to you. Yeah.
So the second part is 8 hours?
second part.
This 4 weeks
Okay.
is how many hours a day?
4 hours a day. So
Okay.
we're done at noon every day.
And then the next part is 8
Same.
hours a day?
No, well, the next part is you go to Hope for Prisoners. You go to our campus over there. You get on the bus every morning. You go over there. You don't deviate. You're there from, what time do you guys get there, Stacy?
What?
What time do you get over to Hope?
Like 7:20?
Okay, so you get there at 7:20, class starts at 8. We're there till almost 3. Okay? Then you can go to work. Some people, I think patients left a little bit early, like at 2, 1, I don't know, something, I don't remember. But the
Leave
idea.
at 12:45.
Okay, so there the thing is, you're still learning, you're now out earning, and your rent instead of 55% is 25%. And you become much more employable, because if you're a guy that walks into an employer and says, I want to work 8 hours a day, I would like to have a 40-hour-week job, which is, let's say, a 30-hour-week job. I want to work 30 hours a week. Well, what do you do the rest of the time? Nothing. I just go back and watch TV, because there's not really anything I can do. Versus a guy who says, well, I go to school in the morning or I go to school at night, because here's when I'm learning, because I don't want to be hanging out at Casa Grande, because you know everybody's has to sign an intent to hire letter. They know you're here, so everybody that hires you is going to know you're a felon. But one is a guy who is just out there to stay at Casa Grande, and to stay at Casa Grande you need a job, so the employer is going to look at you as that guy, or the employer has the opportunity to look at you as this guy who wants to improve themselves or be the best they can be, and they don't want to be hanging out at Casa Grande except for 8 hours a day. And the incentive that the state of Nevada gives you is you can pay 55% rent or 25% rent. So if you're working 30 hours a week, the math is what? What would you want to pay? 25% rent. That's the math. Okay. So, job. Okay, so at the end of our 4-week journey, you're going to have certain hard skills. You're going to be able to answer these questions properly. Why do I behave the way I do? Because of my brain. Nobody would have said that if we had been here for an hour. No.
I think I would have got it.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
good. So we're going to put you on for the next test.
All right.
Okay, good. So you're going to learn this, certain hard skills, certain important skills. Google Cloud are skills that are going to get you good jobs, because the people out there don't know how to use the Google
You say
Cloud.
hard skills?
No, hard.
Oh.
Hard. So that is soft skills. Learning to interview, what to wear, resume, those are soft skills, and they're important. But when you go into a job and you want one of these jobs, one of the jobs I had up there, it doesn't matter what your resume looked like, how nicely you're dressed, how polished you are. If the question is, what is your typing speed? And you say, I can't type, you're not going to get the job, because there's too many other people applying for that job that look almost as good as you, talk almost as good as you, have a resume almost as good as yours, but they have a skill that employer needs today, typing. It's just one example, okay? So you're going to learn certain hard skills. You're going to have this, and you're going to be prepared to go to work. Now at the end of that, so at the end of 4 weeks, you make a decision. You go left or you go right. If you go right, that's another 4 weeks of Larson, and that prepares you for SNAP, which is Entrepreneur School. And SNAP goes for 39 weeks. You don't have to be in prison to go. You can go after that. It's not designed for people who are in prison. So that's the other stage. But you can't start SNAP if you don't have certain skills. Yeah.
So if I test out of this class, then when I better start SNAP?
You test out of this, you go to Larson. You test out of Larson, then you can start SNAP with the people over there at Hope for Prisoners that are in SNAP.
All right.
Okay? Okay, employment planning workshop. So there's a good question asked of, do we help you get jobs? Well, yeah, because we give you a path to get jobs. People today, unfortunately, think work is something you have to do, you shouldn't want to do. Okay, and if you look around, do a poll of most people that have jobs, a lot of people, most people don't like their jobs. But the best people, the people who make things happen, love their jobs. When Nolan Bushnell comes in here, and Stacy, you met Nolan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when Nolan comes here, founder of Atari, founder of Chuck E. Cheese, when he comes in, he'll say, I have 7 jobs. But I don't consider them a job. I can't tell the difference between work and fun. And I get paid. That is the attitude you want to have. And if you think about it, why would you want to give up 5 of the 7 days that you have in a week to do something you don't like to do for 20, 30 years? So that you have a weekend where you have one day where you can really do what you want, right? And then the next day you kind of have to get yourself prepared for, well, tomorrow I have to go back and start the drudgery all over again. That's what most people think life is all about. And people who get you jobs, that's what they're basically doing. They're choosing what your future is going to be. Okay, we do it differently. So this is up on the board. You have to know this. It's going to be on every test every Friday, these 6 steps. And you're going to write them down in your
What's
book.
the last one? That's kind of erased.
Get a job to pay the bills until number 1 happens.
So number 1 happens?
Yeah. Okay, so here's the basic thing. What is it that you would want to do if money wasn't part of the equation? That you could do it. What would you do if you didn't have to get paid? So that's kind of a calling. That's what we call a calling. A higher level is called a destiny. What would you do? What would you want to do so much you'd pay to do that job if you could afford to do it? That's like Mother Teresa type of thing. That's a destiny position. I don't care what I have to do. There was a movie about a guy who was a baker, Bradley Cooper, and he was the greatest cook chef. And he would have guys come to him and say, will you hire me? I don't know. Well, what if I worked for free? Maybe. And Bradley Cooper says, well, how much will you pay me to let you come work for me? That's a destiny position. You want to do it so much, you pay to do it. Now, we have a lot of kooky people that will pay to go to college, right? Because they think it's going to help them. Okay, I'm not going to talk about college. But I want to talk about step 1. You've got to figure out, what is it I would do if I can't tell the difference between it's a hobby or work, or if it's pleasure or work? And for most people, that's not an easy question to answer. Now, we had some people, somebody that's here, Zena, the porter, Zena, said what she'd like to do is just go to shopping malls all day. Just hang out at a shopping mall. Okay, step 2, find 3 to 5 companies that do that. Do you think there are companies that hire people just to hang out at shopping malls? Absolutely. So, but first you got to start with this. What is it that you love doing that you can't tell that you do it all day long? When you're in your free time, you do it. Cards, I don't know, whatever it is that you do. Then find 3 to 5 people who do that. How do you find those 3 to 5 companies?
Research.
On what?
Google.
Yeah, you do an internet, you search. You find 3 to 5, not 300, not 28, 3 to 5. And if one of them you're doing, then the next step is you research them. And if in your research you find out, nah, this isn't, nah, you drop them from the list, you go back and you get, so you have 3 to 5. It's like a Ferris wheel. All the seats are full, there's only 3 to 5 seats. Somebody gets off, somebody gets back on. You do your research on that company. Well, how much research? What would you say? How much research?
Enough to know the basics.
Okay, no. We'll let you keep going.
All right, how much research would you do? Enough to find 3 to 4? 3 to 4.
No, you already found them. Now that you have them, now you need to do research on those companies. How much?
A lot.
What's a lot?
Until you know everything about that company.
Everything about the company?
Until
That's
you
not
know
possible.
enough to open your own company, just like that one.
Okay, no. You have an idea? How much research do you have to do? This is how you're going to get your job, I guarantee it. And people come in here, come back all the time and say, you know what? It absolutely works. Okay, how much do you research these companies?
Every day.
No, how much?
Enough to know what they make, what are they like.
No? Okay, nobody's ever going to guess it. Does anybody want to keep trying? Because nobody's going to. Go ahead.
Until you pick the right one.
No? Because you're not going to know. Okay, you research them to the point where you know that company better than the guy who's going to be interviewing you. You don't want to, you're never going to know as much as the guys who started the company, right? You can't know everything about it. All you need to know is more than the guy interviewing you. Why?
So you can nail all the questions that he asks.
So, well, but you want to set him up. This is now a game of chess. You want to set him up. You want him to say, why do you want to work for us? And you want to go back to this up here and say, because I have a passion for this, or when I was a little kid. So for me, example for me would be, let's see, when I was in my early mid-20s, I was president of a company, publicly traded company, that had 5,000 video games, jukeboxes, pool tables, and cigarette machines in about 2,000 bars across the country. And why? Because I remember the very first day I saw a pinball machine. Anybody remember the pinball machine? That was a baseball game, and he had a bat. Okay, so I remember that first day. I was probably 5 years old or something. I remember seeing this game, that metal ball, and having the bat. No, just one. This is one that had one. It was a green painted metal base. But it was a pinball machine. I remember that. I said, wow, I just love that. And people put money in it, and all you have to do is go take the money out. And I love that, and that's the business I got into. And got to be one of the 11 largest street vending companies in the country. That we had a machine in the warehouse that we were able to buy. We had so many cigarette machines. We bought the cigarettes from the tobacco companies, and we put the tax stamps on the packs of cigarettes. I got paid about $250,000 a year from the tobacco companies because of cigarette machines. Anyway, you want, when you're in that interview, you want the guy to ask you a question of why do you want to work here? And you want to go back to, because this is what I'm going to do. I love this from the time of this. This is what I want to do. And I went and found the 3 best companies, or 5. I went and researched them. You were one of the 3 to 5 companies that I decided I want to work for. Now what are you doing? You're setting that guy up to, so he might say, well, who else? And if you name their competitors, he's now thinking, if I say no, and one of our other competitors takes him, am I going to regret it?
Yeah, 'cause he knows everything, but I know.
And so he's going to test you about what you know. If you know more than he knows, can you fail the test? And the test is, I really want to work here because of some story of why you really want to do it. And he wants to test to see, is that true? All you need to know is more than he knows. And here you have probably 3 weeks, an hour a day for 3 weeks to research that company. And you just don't do a Google search. But you do a Google search, but what else do you do? YouTube. You watch videos on that company. So you can say, yeah,
There are that many
I know-
videos of a company on it?
Well, it depends on the company, but if it's a good company, absolutely. We have almost 800 videos on YouTube. Okay, step 4, create a plan. Okay, so you have these guys, right? Let's say you have 3, and you have them ranked, right? You should have them ranked between, this is my first choice, this is my second choice, this is my third choice, right? Who do you go first in your plan? Who do you want to interview with first?
Yourself.
No, of these 3, who do you want to interview with first? Number 1, 2, or 3?
3.
1.
Who said 3? You said 1.
I know, then I changed my mind once you said it over, once I heard it.
Okay. You say number 1? Anybody say number 2?
Yeah, me.
If you had to choose one, which would you choose?
2.
Okay. Anybody say, okay. I would start not with number 1. Why?
That's the one I really want.
Well, why wouldn't you start with the one you really want?
To compare with the other ones.
Once you get a negative response about the one you really want, everything else is like.
Maybe.
subpar.
Okay, but here's what's actually going to happen. I guarantee it. You're going to walk out of that interview and you're going to say, damn, I wish I had said this.
It's like a practice run.
So it's like a practice. So you don't want to do number 1 first. You might want to do number 2 first. Because if you go into number 1 having an offer, how do you feel?
Better.
Like you can ask for more, right? I have nothing to lose because I already have an offer from number 2. And if both of those things go to hell, I start at number 3. Okay, you might decide I need to start at number 3 because I'm just not good at this interviewing, this back and forth communication stuff. I need as much practice as I can get. Or you might say, you know what, I'm really not good at that. I need to go get 2 more. I need to have 5. Because this is really the one I want, but I'm not prepared for that. Or your plan might be, I want this job, but I went on their website. They don't have any openings for this job, but they have openings for lower jobs. Like let's say it's the Venetian. I want to be a bellman at the Venetian. They don't have any bellman positions at the Venetian. All they have is ushers at the Venetian.
What's the difference?
An usher is a guy who works in one of the shows that people walk in with the ticket and they say, where's my seat? A bellman is the guy who takes your bags up to the room and gets tips. Okay? So you might really want to have a job as a bellman at the Venetian, but they don't have that job, but your strategy is just get me in the Venetian. Because once I'm into the Venetian, now I have a better opportunity to move, to work somewhere, get in somewhere else.
They don't hire felons though, right?
Well, they might. We have a couple people over at Hope that have job offers.
From the Venetian.
Yeah.
You came and told us last week that the Venetian.
The guy told me on Monday they gave him an offer. I said, did they know your status? He said, well, I told them I was in transitional housing.
Oh, that's not the same.
Yeah, so he's waiting, they're doing background. Okay, so we don't know.
Caesar hired something else.
Okay, some places at the Venetian, I'm told now, if they have nothing to do with money, you can have that, you can get that job already. Anyway, let's not get distracted. Okay, step 5, you execute the plan. Too many people think these go together. I'm gonna do, here's my plan, boom, I thought of it now, I'm gonna go start. No, you don't do that. So here you use your calendar and you start executing. You start with, when is the date I need my job by? You don't start with I'll take a job as soon as somebody offers it to me. You need to be strategic. You need to use strategery on this. Step 5 is you execute the plan. Step 6 is you get a job to pay the bills until number 1 happens. So let's say you say, I want to be an actor. Okay? You say, I want to be an actor. What do most actors do before they get their first paying part?
Waiters.
Huh?
Waiter.
Yeah, they work in a restaurant as a waiter. What do a tremendous number of guys do when they're in law school to pay the bills?
Clerk.
Some guys do, but
Paralegal.
they are bartenders. They're bartenders. Why? Why would you want, if you were in law school, why would you want to be a bartender?
We work at night.
Tips.
Get the money.
Tips, money, but it's
Hours.
it's not mentally taxing. You know, if you're putting all of your effort into law school, you can't go have a job in a law firm. It's too much. Too mental straining. So it's good to have a job where people go there, because what? Why do people go to bars?
Right.
They want to have a good time, right? People go to work because they need to. People go to a bar because they want to. If you're in law school, you can talk with people, right? Is that good? Is that a good skill for a bartender? To be able to talk to customers? Yeah. You probably are pretty smart, so you can tell jokes. You know what's going on in the world, right? That gets people to stay longer, come back more often, and tell their friends. You tell the owner, hey, I'm in law school. Okay, good. So you're a guy who's committed, studying is important, you're disciplined, I can count on you, blah, 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 blah. But you know what, when I graduate and I pass the bar, I'm going to quit. I understand that, but it's worth it. You know, I can count on you as a bartender. You're not going to have other problems. So you go get something to pay the bills. Do you think you could do telemarketing if you had a plan and you just needed to do this until somebody called?
Yes.
Yeah. So part of this thing, get a job to pay the bills until you get what you want. You do things like you find, where is the closest place to where I live? Because I don't want to take a bus for an hour to get to work. Because this isn't my life. And I'm not going to get trapped into this. That's what happens to a lot of people. They have an idea, this is what they want to do, but they never get around to doing it. They get stuck in this. This is one reason people don't become entrepreneurs, is because they say, I really want to be an entrepreneur, I want to start my business, but I need to save money. But I need this. But I need that, and they never get around to it. So if you have a plan, you can go do something like this. Why do actors like being waiters? Until their job comes in.
Communication.
Okay, what's the benefit for somebody who's a waiter, an actor, to be a waiter?
Networking.
No, you get to practice. You can pretend you're somebody else. Today I'm going to pretend I'm from New York, and today I'm going to pretend I'm a German guy. I'm going to talk with a German accent. These people don't know me, or if they do know me, they're going to think it's kind of cool, and they might come back because they might say, who's this guy going to be tomorrow or next week? Okay, that's one reason they do it, is they practice. Lawyers, another reason to be a bartender is because you get to practice on people. How do you get people to listen to you and believe you when you tell them stuff?
Give them a free shot. They don't listen.
Yeah, that could be one way. A lot of lawyers do that. That is their strategy. It's called jury tampering, right? But it works, okay? And if those are your morals. So in the 4 weeks, this is how you're going to get your job. And you know what? If you get this job, when you get out of here, what's going to happen? You're going to keep it. Yeah.
What if we don't even have an education?
Well, you mean a formal education?
Yes.
Okay. So how far did you get?
11th grade.
Okay. So we've had people that have come to Larson because they wanted to go to college, but they didn't know how to use a computer. And today you can't go to CSN or UNLV if you can't use a computer. It's impossible. Can't do it. It's almost impossible to get a decent job if you can't go online and do it. So the answer is SNAP is for you. Be an entrepreneur. When Nolan comes in, he's going to say the best job security is have your own job. Henry Ford, who was Henry Ford? Do you know who Henry Ford was? Henry Ford?
Automobile maker.
Yeah, the guy who started Ford. He had I think a 3rd grade education. And his idea was, I don't need to know accounting. I just need to hire somebody who's a good accountant and make sure I can trust him. Do you think you have the ability to know whether you can trust people? Okay. So his idea was, I don't need to be an expert. I just need to hire experts.
He doesn't understand what the expert is doing.
Well, that's a risk. But that's why I said, do you think you can figure out whether you can trust somebody?
What does 4 say, the rest of the second part of 4?
No plan survives contact with the enemy. So create a plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. These are just little military things. Yeah.
Do we come to this class tomorrow?
Every day.
Well, I was supposed to go to CSN tomorrow.
Okay.
So
So you don't show up, and when I turn in my report of who wasn't here, if you were not here for a not good reason, then it's a problem. If you're not here for a good reason, then it's okay. Yeah.
So some of us still got to go to the DMV.
Same thing. Yeah.
I was told we have to be at least 70% attendance for a pass.
Okay.
Is that wrong?
So Larson, the licensed vocational school, the program is 16 weeks. To graduate from Larson, you have to have 70%
That
attendance.
doesn't do it for 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's a different thing. That's a different program. So this is a 4-week journey. At the end of 4 weeks, you're going to have valuable, important skills that you'll use every day for the rest of your life. Then you can choose to continue on the path. And I think it would be great if you went to CSN and you stayed here, so you did both, and then you told everybody how screwed up CSN is, how it's a waste of time, because it really is. But you would be great if you did both. And I can assure you the things that you're going to learn here are much more valuable than CSN. That's just, but it would be good if you did both.
Valuable in the day-to-day life or valuable in the future?
Day to day,
because what you were saying was
tomorrow morning.
The basic skills that we're learning for this 4-week journey is pretty. It's not pretty much, but some of them are the same things that you already learned. Well,
If you could test out tomorrow, you could be over at Hope for Prisoners. If you know how to type, if you know the Google Cloud apps, if you can remember stuff,
when can I do that then? 'Cause I don't-
well, not today, because this is orientation day, okay? But you could be over there tomorrow. Well, not tomorrow, but you could be there Monday,
Okay.
okay? You could be there Monday, if you have the skills,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
okay? Yeah.
How often do we get the chance to test that?
You
Once a
tell
week?
me, well, here's what'll happen. Okay, so we're going to do at 10 o'clock. At 11 o'clock, we're going to do typing.
Okay.
Okay?
The home run, or we could just do?
No.
Homeroom is what they taught you in high school.
Yeah, I know, but he's talking about I don't need to do it that way because I'm faster my own way. I created my own system,
Yeah,
right?
I created mine too.
Yeah. Well, I didn't create mine. I'm saying what I knew you were going to say.
Yeah.
Oh, so he
Okay.
needs to do homeroom.
Well, you can only get to a certain level if you do it your way.
Exactly.
Okay? Then you're going to hit a plateau.
Back to the.
It's breaking bad habits. Breaking bad habits.
Behave this way.
Correct. Okay. Why do I behave? I'm a shortcut guy. I want to take shortcuts. Okay. So I don't know, but we're going to see how you type.
All right.
If you can type 35 words a minute, that's one of the things you need to be able to do. If you can remember stuff,
As of.
You say stuff, you mean journal stuff, like if you
They
ask-
missed the video.
yeah.
Like if you
What
ask,
video?
like the first question you asked when we came in here, that type of stuff? Like,
No.
who am I?
No, not that kind of stuff. Okay, so here's how your brain works. Okay, the problem is our brains are not like computers. Good morning, Lieutenant. Our brains are like sieves. Our brains are designed to forget 70% of what we learn every day if we don't review it. So if I say to you, what's the fundamental difference between a good student and a not good student? What would you say?
A student is somebody who listens.
No.
Attendance?
No.
Repeat the question.
What's the fundamental difference between a good student and a not good student?
Good student remembers what they learned.
Can I borrow?
A good listener, a good person that can
No.
remember. No?
Which one?
Remember.
Both? Okay. What's the difference between a good student and a not good student?
Student that shows up.
Good students.
No. You stop while you're ahead.
Good students prepared.
No.
Change.
No.
Somebody can remember.
Somebody improves.
Okay? No idea? Okay, all right. The difference between a good student and not good student is good students remember more. Why do they remember more? Maybe they studied more. Maybe their brain is different. Maybe their parents said, hey, you need to remember this stuff. That's the fundamental difference. They remember more, so when they take a test,
Yeah.
what happens? Everybody sign the sheet?
Somebody didn't.
You're probably missing me.
So when it comes to a test, good students who remember more, they do better on tests. And then they get into better schools because they remember more. So instead of going to UNLV, instead of going to UNLV, they go to a good school. Okay? That's the difference. Our brains are designed to forget 70%. And when we come back, we're going to watch a TED Talk, which is part of our thing. And what's going to happen is you're not going to remember. We're going to watch a 20-minute TED Talk. Right, Stacy?
What?
If you don't take notes, you're not going to remember the TED Talk.
Right.
You're going to think you remember. If I said, okay, we just watched a 20-minute talk, write down everything you remember about that. How many minutes do you think you could write?
4.
Probably.
How many can I rehearse?
No.
18.
You can rehearse 18, and if you were actually going to write it out, it would take you a lot longer than 20 minutes to write down a 20-minute thing. Remembering stuff means it's in your neural network. If you don't remember it, it's not in your neural network. You have to keep doing it over and over and over and over again. That's why, like, I don't know, did anybody here not have to memorize multiplication tables? Did not. Okay. So in the old days, you had to memorize them. The new way is, no, that's not good. But it turns out that's how you remember stuff, is you just go over it, over it, over again, and that's what memorization is. You know, how did you learn to drive a car?
Watching.
You got placed on, mine was different.
Okay. How?
I got placed on the hill, we were fishing.
Okay.
He said he ain't helping.
Okay. So that was the start, right? Were you going up the hill or down? Okay. Was it a clutch? Okay, good. Yeah, I had that experience
Turned
too.
off about 5 times.
Okay.
You
I had that
going
experience.
backwards or what?
Juggling,
Okay.
ripping the
So,
getting yelled at.
basically, you learned to drive because you memorized how to drive, and then it became automatic, autopilot. Right? The first time you got out on the highway, how did you feel? Okay, most
I
people
was
say
scared.
scared.
I turned around.
Everything was going fast.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
turned around and got off.
1 week later, how were you?
On the freeway though, and I turned around and just.
Okay.
got
Now
off.
1 week later, how were you?
I was good.
Okay.
Like to go fast.
Probably eating a cheeseburger, listening, singing a song, talking to the guy next to you, right? And hey, how did we get here? You were there. Why? Because the neural network in your brain and your hand-eye coordination enabled you to get there because you memorized how to do it. That's how it works. Okay, does anybody have any last questions? Otherwise, we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we're going to watch a TED Talk.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
I gotta use the restroom.
Okay, run.
It take longer than 10 minutes.
Well,
I'm actually doing that on the motorcycle.
okay.